Do you remember when Porsche announced that they wanted to make an SUV? Fans and purists decried the idea and says that's not what Porsche does. Then Porsche said they wanted to make a saloon. And once again, fans and purists said that that is not what Porsche does. However, both the Cayenne and the Panamera have gone on to prove themselves not only to be some of the best handling vehicles in their segment, but they've also proven themselves to be absolutely pure, unbridled Porsches. But it's 2021. Porsche's decided they want to make an electric car. So here with me at the Sepang International Circuit is the Porsche Taycan, their first all-electric saloon. We're going to find out if this is still a pure Porsche or if this is just a dressed-up electrical appliance. My name is Aiman Abdullah. This is Malaysian Motoring. This is the Sepang International Circuit, and this is the Porsche Taycan. So, as I said earlier, the Porsche Taycan is Porsche's first all-electric vehicle. And one of the important things for Porsche when they were coming up with the Taycan is that it has to look very much like a Porsche. So at the front, you have the 4-point signature LED daytime running lights, which surround a Porsche Matrix LED headlight system. You also have these air intakes down here, which then meet a much larger underbreather down here. Again, that gives it a very familiar Porsche face. It helps, of course, that 911 was rear-engined, and so there was never a lot of cool ducting, whatever, going on up front. So the Taycan is able to build that design language from the front very easily. But now, as we go down to the sides, we have these massive alloy wheels, which are 21-inch bi-tone 5-spoke alloy wheels wrapped in Goodyear Eagle F1 tires, and I have to say these things are absolutely enormous. Now, as we move down to the side, you can see this dynamic profile with the big haunches down the rear, again to accentuate the fact that this is a performance vehicle. But more importantly, as we move down to the back, you can see you have a lot of modern Porsche touches, based not only on the fact that this car has those wide haunches, it also has the single light bar that we've seen before from Porsche as a design feature. Now, again, this is a saloon, so actually at the back, you actually pop a boot rather than a hatch. Now, in here, there is a decent amount of space owing to the fact that this is an electric vehicle, and so a lot of the electrical gubbins are stuck underneath the vehicle, so you have a practical amount of space with, of course, the charging cables down there. Now, we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to quickly move around. Now, we're going to show you bits of the inside a little bit later, but this is a saloon car, which means you have 4 seats for a 4-seater vehicle. This is the Taycan Turbo, which means there are a lot more features for us to talk about, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But right now, we need to actually get back on the track and enjoy driving the thing. So, now that we have a little bit more time and we're now not in the middle of the track, the car has magically changed color and spec as well. So we had a turbo earlier, now we have the Taycan 4S, which is sort of like a mid-range model. It's the first all-wheel drive model in the lineup before you arrive at the Turbo and the Turbo S. So we're going to take a quick run through of the exterior because there were many people earlier and we were rushed for time. So now that we're not so pressed for time, but we are under the blazing hot sun, we're just going to take a quick walk around of the car. So at the front, you have the typically Porsche design language. You have this long, flat bonnet leading to a very low nose with these wide air breathers up front. Up here, you have Porsche LED matrix system headlights with the 4-point LED daytime running light, a signature for Porsche for some time, but now you have these air breathers integrated down into the side. Now, if you're wondering why these are here, it's because all electric vehicles have to maximize range by minimizing drag and improving aerodynamics. And so these are now here to help channel air from the front down the side of the car. Now, we're going to go around that way, according to my video editor. So as we come down to the side, you can see that here we have Goodyear Eagle F1 tires wrapped around 21-inch alloy wheels. These are optional carbon fiber wheels, so they are extra light, but because of these fins, again, it helps improve aerodynamics altogether. Now, if we move down to the side, we have the charge ports here. There are actually two charge ports on this car. One is a single AC charger, and on the other side is a DC charger. Now, obviously the DC charger runs faster and so on, but we'll talk about charging all that in a little while. Now, moving down the side, we have the optional carbon fiber wing mirror caps. You have the Taycan Experience Malaysia 2021 sticker, which obviously not standard lah, I'm just screwing with you. You also have a glass roof. And as you come down the side, you can actually see that the overall shape of the Taycan is very similar to what we've seen from Porsches in the past. You have these huge haunches that kind of pull over the wheels in order to give the car a very athletic stance. And you still have this very sloping roofline all the way to the rear, which makes this car look especially good. Now, coming down to the back, you have more modern Porsche signatures, such as the full width light bar that goes all the way across, as well as the very, very slim taillights that are nestled under here. The Porsche logo is now actually stuck behind this piece of glass, and you also have the badging here. Now, the Taycan is not like the Panamera in the sense that the Panamera is a 5-door fastback, whereas the Taycan is a saloon. So instead of lifting up the whole rear hatch, you just have a regular boot. Now, back here, because this is an electric all-wheel drive car, you do have some electric gubbins underneath, such as the rear motor and so on. But for the most part, you get a big, deep, wide boot area. You have a little bit of a lip here, but you have some scuff plates here, but there is a little bit of overhang for you to lift luggage over, but that's not really that big of a deal. You have a small, tiny amount of underfloor storage, but really, for the most part, this is the amount of space that you'll be using most of the time. Now, as I said earlier, the Taycan is a 4-door saloon by Porsche, which means the interior is just as important as the exterior. So let's move inside and talk a little bit more about that. And as you can see, German registered plates, which means I have to go on that side. So now, on the inside of the Taycan, it certainly feels like a Porsche in here. For starters, even though this is obviously a new generation of Porsche and a new future for Porsche, it certainly feels like a lot of this interior is derived from its past. So for example, this double level, this sort of split level dashboard is very reminiscent of the original Porsche 911. You still get the 5-dial layout up front, and now it's actually displayed on a curved screen in order to sort of ensconce you as the driver. You also have this very high center console, again, to sort of separate the spaces between the driver and the passenger. It certainly feels like a Porsche in here, and that's before we get to the optional equipment in this car, such as the Alcantara steering wheel, the Alcantara line seats, and the extended carbon fiber package, which is available, which is seen on the doors. But in any case, let's talk about the Taycan in general. So as I said, this is a 4-seater luxury saloon, an electric luxury saloon. And as a result, sitting here, it has to feel not only like a performance car, but also has to feel like a luxury car. So in addition to all of this performance-oriented gubbins, you also get a lot of luxury niceties in here. So for example, as standard, this car comes with 3 screens. So you have the curved screen up here, which not only displays all of your related driver information, but you also have lots of buttons, touch capacitive buttons down the side. So you have your light settings on the right, you also have your stability control, suspension setup, ride height, and a customizable favorite button over here, which you can obviously customize to do whatever you want. Now, on the steering wheel, which is a special lightweight version of the steering wheel, standard on all cars, you actually get a voice command button, a brake regen button, and some more buttons over here to sort of play with all sorts of settings over there, like your trip, sport chrono, navigation, drive mode, media, and other related information for the car. Now up here, this system sort of works together. So this is Porsche's bespoke infotainment system on the Taycan. So up here you have your pretty basic function, but this screen works in tandem with this one. So the one down here is mostly an 8-track control. So you can change your different AC settings, for example, all through here, but you can also use it as a shortcut in order to hit the navigation, the media, the phone settings, as well as various other settings. There is actually a fixed bar up here, which then manipulates the upper control. Also, if you want to adjust simple things, such as the direction of the aircon vents, you actually have to press the menu AC button on this haptic screen, and then you actually have to adjust the airflow up here. Now, I'm not very sure if this is necessarily the fastest way to do it, because admittedly sitting in here, because all of these surfaces are fixed, you don't actually have to manipulate or touch any of these surfaces. So I understand that in some ways it simplifies the design, but when I want to adjust the air conditioner to my face, I will instinctively reach for the thing, which doesn't do anything. I actually have to move things here in order to have the thing blowing at my face, or God knows whatever else. It's slightly counterintuitive, I'd like to think, but I do believe that once you've actually set this up to your particular profile, to your particular settings, you'll stop faffing about with it. There's also different settings here, such as individual focus and diffuse for the air conditioning alone. Now, going back down to this other screen, this is also where you adjust your heated seat settings. You can also open the front boot or the rear boot. Yeah, there's a front boot to this. I'll get to that in a second. You can also hit your battery management system from here. So when you press that, it will show you a current charge state. It will allow you to pre-cool or heat the battery should you want to fast charge the car. And it'll also show you your remaining range. Your volume controls are also here, as well as the controls for your your park distance control, and of course the off button to shut off the infotainment system. Now, as I said earlier, this is a luxury saloon, which means the front is just as important as the rear. So now that this is set up basically in my driving position, let's go and see what's going on in the back, and we'll talk a little bit more there. So. Now, in the back of the Taycan, there is so much for me to talk to you about. So for starters, this particular model is set up as a 5-seater, which means you have this how do I put this, useless space in the middle. Porsche has very clearly designed this for 4-seaters because honestly this middle seat is just absolutely pointless. Even the smallest of toddlers wouldn't be able to sit here, and the booster seat most certainly cannot be put here anyway. But when you're seated on the outer seats, this seat is set up in my driving position, and you can see the abundance of knee room and the abundance of headroom, even though we have the optional glass roof here. However, and I am slightly unhappy to report that the electrically adjustable aircon vents are still here, which means you still need to faff about with this screen. However, this car does come with 4-zone climate control with variable fan speed settings for each individual passenger, which means you can actually set the climate control to exactly how you want it. That said though, in terms of foot room, it's a little cramped. You can't really tuck your feet in underneath the driver in front of you, so you're kind of stuck sort of in this position. It's not the most reclined, which means, you know, long distance journeys might not be the best. But then again, given the fact that these cars are so bloody fast anyway, I think your journeys will be over a lot faster than you think. In any case, overall accoutrements back here are quite nice, and when there isn't someone being tortured in the middle seat, you can actually put down this armrest, if I can figure this out. Oh, you have to knock it down there. And then you have a couple of cup holders here, and you have absolutely almost no storage. I think there's enough space back here for a packet of cigarettes, if anybody still knows what those are. There is no backseat storage at all. If I'm honest, it's not looking too great back here for adult passengers. However, if you have children, they should be fine, because you do have 2 ISOFIX mounts, and they should be able to enjoy the view out of these windows, as well as this enormous glass roof, which I must say looks fantastic. Despite the fact that we are in Sepang, which is known for being incredibly hot, there is almost no heat coming through this roof, and it's tinted in such a way that the sunlight is being cut out quite nicely. This is actually a very nice place to be back here. Shorter journeys, mid-distance journeys should be fine. Long distance journeys, I would suggest you stop off, you charge the car and stretch a bit lah, otherwise it might be a little bit uncomfortable. Anyway, enough talking about the Taycan. This is an all-electric Porsche, Porsche's first all-electric car, which means the drive is just as important as the experience, the visceral experience of being in here. So we're going to cut right now to some driving. Okay, so now we're behind the wheel of the Porsche Taycan 4S, and we are currently driving around the Sepang circuit in a guided lap. And it must be said that this certainly feels like a Porsche. Yes, it is very heavy, as any battery electric vehicle would be. However, because the batteries are set so low, the center of gravity is it's almost on the floor. This car drives like a worm. It's so fast, and it's so planted to the floor. So much so that my equipment appears to be flying around. the thing is, the immediacy of the throttle is something that you'd come to expect from a Porsche. And I have to say that in the Taycan, wow, it is most certainly here. This car is impressively fast. It feels like a proper Porsche, even though it lacks the characteristic flat six rumble that you would expect from a Porsche. But this is definitely a Porsche driving experience. I now understand why Sime Darby Auto Performance insisted that these cars be tested out here on the track, because this is truly where you can feel all of that Porsche DNA utilized in order to make the Taycan a truly incredible experience. I have to say, this is one hell of an experience. I'm so lucky to have been able to sample this for myself.
A few moments later.
And turn your drive mode now to Sports Plus.
Oh, no way. Wow, that's insane. In Sport Plus, everything is a little bit sharper, it's a little bit pointier. This is such a good car and it accelerates so quickly. My word. And you can feel everything through the steering wheel. Even though this is an electric car with electric power steering, somehow this car just communicates like a proper Porsche. My God, this is something else. Oh, the G-forces are insane. It's throwing my internal organs all the way around. God above, what a car, what a car.
Let's go.
Oh, so now we're driving the Porsche Taycan 4S around the track now in Sport Plus mode. And as you can hear, there is this, what they refer to as the electric sport sound, which they created specifically for the Taycan. And you can hear it as sort of a simulation of speed, a simulation of power, and you can certainly feel it from behind the wheel. The amazing thing is, the throttle response is now better. The brakes feel incredibly natural. And what amazes me most of all is the fact that even though this is a modern car, the steering wheel is so communicative. You can tell exactly what this car is doing from behind the wheel. It is insane. I'm actually taking this lap a little bit more relaxed because otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk. This car is so bloody fast and the throttle response is just nothing short of fantastic. Okay, so we're going to wrap up this video by talking about the front boot, or the fruit, which is that big. You can put your charger cables in there, or a small dog. Seriously, don't put animals in here, they'll suffocate and die. But in any case, in the front you will find some lighting, which means it's slightly practical. You also have your emergency triangle, and you have your washer fluid thingy over here. The Taycan is an incredibly exciting car, but it's still a car nonetheless, which means you still need to have stuff like this anyway. But talking about it as a car, gently. Right, so the Taycan is available in Malaysia in 4 trims. So you get the Porsche Taycan, the Porsche Taycan 4S, the Porsche Taycan Turbo, and the Turbo S. Now prices start at 588,000 ringgit and rise all the way up to about 1.2 million ringgit for the Taycan Turbo S. Now, the thing is, these prices are only valid until July 30th, 31st, whenever the SST exemption ends, and after that the prices will be updated. But as far as we're concerned, the Porsche Taycan represents a huge leap forward. For starters, this is the first electric vehicle available in Malaysia with the newly updated taxing system, excise taxing system for electric vehicles. And as a result, this car is available at truly astronomical prices. Astronomically affordable, I mean. 588,000 ringgit is a lot of money, no doubt, but for a Porsche, what is undoubtedly a Porsche, it's a bargain. Particularly when you consider the fact that you can actually ferry 4 people in this very comfortably, and it runs on 0 petrol. As far as I'm concerned, the Porsche Taycan, it does answer 2 very important questions. One, what is Porsche going to do as everybody moves towards electric mobility? And number 2, in its transition from electric mobility, from internal combustion to electric mobility, will Porsche lose its driver-focused identity? And I'm happy to report that if this is what Porsche is doing, it certainly appears to be very promising indeed. And most importantly, this still drives and feels 100% like a Porsche. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you all for subscribing to the channel. If it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't get to be here in Sepang with the fantastic Porsche Taycan. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon so you're notified every time we make a new upload. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. All the links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care, stay safe, jangan bodoh.
Hold on, recording.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Occupancy belt, not pausing. Yeah?
Sorry.
Whoa! That was like a second. I didn't have the balls to do it.
Now, just now. Follow the kick.